Miss Tolson, you're a producer, so I have a production question for you.
What's your question?
I've been watching the introduction on ABC News lately.
You've only been watching their introduction?
Miss Tolson, that's the best part. In fact, it's the only interesting part of ABC News broadcast. They're like the National Enquirer.
What does this have to do with 13-minute productions?
I think we should have a more exciting, more sensational introduction to get people's attention.
And what did you have in mind, Liam?
How about an introduction that is just like ABC News, which sounds like the National Enquirer?
And just what would that look like, Liam?
I'm glad you asked. It's going to look a little something like this. Tonight on 13-Minute Productions, live children are being thrown from planes. President Trump beats 3 congressmen to death with his bare hands. And Japanese killer porn is on the loose. Godzilla! 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 What do you think?
I think you're on drugs.
Aside from that.
Just read the news, Liam. You're on in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome to 13-Minute Productions March News and Review.
Britain's breakup with its high-maintenance 60-year-old hag of a partner, otherwise known as the European Union, began on March 29th when Britain triggered Article 50 to begin its highly public divorce, also known as Brexit. Just like a jilted lover who just won't go home in the morning, the European Union immediately began making threats against Britain. I mean, the audacity of the British wanting to make their own autonomous and sovereign decisions. Cheers, Britain. Good luck, and this divorce is long overdue. So,
Counterfeit whiskey first appeared in volumes at auctions beginning in the 1990s, but has only been in recent years, as more people invest in old and rare expressions, that instances of fake products have increased. In late February 2007, an arrest was made by London's Metropolitan Police following an alleged attempt to sell hundreds of thousands of pounds of counterfeit spirits at auction, in an operation never seen on such scale before. No, this isn't some bathtub gin operation. No one's going blind. Rather, this is just filling old bottles with bottom shelf liquor and selling it at auction, which is being called a sophisticated setup. Clearly, I'm in the wrong line of work. The good news for the buyers of the counterfeit whiskey is that the auction house involved has a fraud policy, which I'm sure the buyers appreciate, as whiskey analyst Rare Whiskey 101 discovered that several fake bottles worth up to £1 million were being sold at auction in December of 2016. You'd think folks with that kind of money to blow on whiskey they're not even going to drink would also have the money to make sure that stuff was legit before the deal was done, but hey, to each their own. Liam?
The American left's ongoing war against our rights of freedom of speech and assembly continued as counter-protesters violently attacked pro-Trump supporters using pepper spray on marchers in Southern California. Earlier this month, in Minnesota, a rally was attacked by peaceful leftists, and a 61-year-old woman was left injured. This is the piece that the latte-sipping, basement-dwelling special snowflakes have made fashionable.
Talking about protests, Republican state senators in Arizona have voted to give police powers to arrest anyone involved in peaceful demonstrations. SB 1142 expands the state's racketeering laws also to include rioting, and it redefines what constitutes rioting to include actions that result in damage to the property and of others. But the real meat and potatoes of this legislation is the guilt by association edition, which gives the government the right to criminally prosecute and seize assets of everyone who planned to be involved in a protest or everyone who participated. And what's worse, says Senator Steve Farley of Tucson, is that the person who may have broken a window, triggering the claim that there was a riot, might actually not be a member of the group that was involved, but someone from the other side. Senator Quezada acknowledged that sometimes what's planned as a peaceful demonstration can quickly become something else. When people want to express themselves as a group during a time of turmoil, during a time of controversy, during a time of high emotions, that's exactly when people gather as a community. Everything that constitutes rioting is already a crime, ranging from assault to criminal damage, and those responsible can be individually prosecuted. The purpose of this bill appears designed to chill the First Amendment rights of the people who decide to demonstrate in the first place for fear of doing something wrong. So, Arizona Republicans, that Constitution thing, not important anymore? Planning to wad it up and throw it away? Use it for toilet paper? Liam?
To commemorate International Women's Day on March 8th, Air India operated an around-the-world flight with an all-woman crew. And no, they did not get lost.
It's horrible.
Interestingly, they performed the flight 4 days before International Women's Day on March 4th, which was, well, International Where the Hell's My Sandwich Day. Namaste, Sisso.
Well, to go on a completely opposite spectrum, let's talk about sports. And you know the only sports I care about are Cubs sports. So, we thought he was retiring, but David Grandpa Ross is just embarking on a new adventure. Grandpa Rossi has signed up to Dancing with the Stars. Ross states that he has no formal dance training, though he says he's anxious to learn, especially ballroom style. To survive the first elimination round, Grandpa and his partner Lindsay cha-cha'd and busted a move to young MC, scoring a 27 out of 40. I feel like his outfit alone should have brought that score to 30. Rossi says his goal is to work hard and have fun, something we could all stand to do a little more of in life. Liam?
Noah Feldman of the Bloomberg View recently wrote about the growing chances of President Trump's impeachment. What he did not write about is the growing American culture of stupidity that has taken over our country like an epidemic. Every day, I hear some twit yammering on about impeachment. But the very same idiot has no idea what impeachment actually means. Here's a hint for you, Einstein. It does not mean removal from office. So, if you're sincerely concerned about the image of our country abroad, please read a book and help stop the growing national culture of stupidity in our country. Sisso.
He's right. Impeachment does not mean being taken out of office. And we all have to grasp that concept. Liam?
Yeah, I've got something else from the grasp, too. Nonetheless, meddler in Budinsky, Shannon Watts, who is also founder of Moms Demand Action, created a ridiculous scandal when she tweeted her outrage about two teenage girls who were barred from boarding a United Airlines flight because they were wearing leggings. What Miss Watts did not demand to find out was that these girls were actually in violation of the dress code that allowed them to fly on United Airlines for free. Miss Watts, there is nobody on earth who's a bigger fan of yoga pants and leggings on women than me.
I don't know, I could fight that.
Well, unless they're fatty. Nonetheless, I'm also a fan of a company's right to set its own dress code. So, demand facts next time. Unless, of course, you're working for CNN. Sisso.
Speaking of public outrage, many people were looking forward to St. Patrick's Day this year. Clearly this guy. While the excitement for some included the promises of libations while being decked out in all green, others were anxiously waiting on the edge of their seats for the much-anticipated release of the live-action Beauty and the Beast. That is, until it was made public that there was an exclusively gay moment within the film. And that's when the boycott threats and scandalous accusations of agenda pushing started. What confused me about this, and I don't know if you guys watched the same animated movie that I did, but I always knew LeFou was gay, even as a kid. Of course, I also grew up in a culture where an animated and sometimes cross-dressing male rabbit made out with an animated male hunter on a regular occurrence on Saturday morning, and no one batted an eye. No one died. We're all okay. When I read Condon's interview statement of LaFoe is someone who one day wants to be Gaston and on another day wants to kiss Gaston, he's confused about what he wants. It's somebody who's realizing that he has those feelings. That was exactly how I remembered the original. Then again, we're also talking about a movie that promotes Stockholm Syndrome as a pathway to true love, so maybe an exclusively gay moment isn't what should have been on the main focus of outrage in the first place. To each their own. Live and let live. Disney didn't add something that wasn't necessarily already there, nor did they intend to force anyone to watch the film. We all have to make decisions for what entertainment we seek and how we assimilate that entertainment into our lives. Throwing a hissy fit and claiming to be left out or because you don't agree with the context of the plot line doesn't solve anything. No one was left out. You still have a choice to view the film, and it's your decision. Liam?
I really have no idea what all that leftist yammering was about, but the stereotype about the Irish drinking all the time is offensive to me. The Tennessee General Assembly passed a joint non-binding resolution condemning pornography as a public health hazard that it's making men less interested in marrying. Do you want to know what makes men less interested in marrying? I'm going to tell you. Too much government regulation in our bedrooms. That's the start. We tend to get very turned off when the government is taking more interest in our genitals than our girlfriends. Sisso?
Hey, well, while Tennessee may be concerned about the impact of pornography on a person's interest in marriage, Ohio Republicans were giving no support to a bill which would make marital rape illegal. The bill is the second introduced by State Representative Greta Johnson to address a loophole in Ohio law that means prosecutors must prove there was force or the threat of force for a sexual attack by a husband or a wife to be considered as rape. Ohio, listen, rape is rape. Other states which failed to realize that seriously, rape is rape are Connecticut, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Nevada, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, South Carolina, and Virginia. Oklahoma, I am talking to you. George Font. Rape is the sole will and action of the perpetrator. How is it that in 2017, leaders of the U.S. are still struggling to wrap their heads around the definition of rape? Liam?
A Japanese man, identified only as Joji, was found dead in his apartment 6 months after his collection of pornography, weighing over 6 tons, collapsed on top of him. Just to put that in perspective so you men out there can understand, that is the equivalent of dying underneath Rosie O'Donnell, but without having to be affected by all the ugly.
And tonight, here with our opinion piece is Tracy Wells on her fabulous What Really Gets My Goat. Tracy, what gets your goat today?
People who think that night owls are lazy just because they sleep during the day. Hey, I don't call you at 2 a.m. and say, I can't believe you're asleep. Do you know what time it is? Well, I've got a wake-up call for all you early birds. Being a night owl is linked to higher intelligence. So chirp, chirp, motherfucker! A study at the University of Madrid found that people who stay up late have more creative and innovative thinking and more inductive reasoning, which is linked to more prestigious jobs with higher pay. That's because there's nothing going on to interrupt our concentration. No text, no lawnmowers, nothing on TV, or anything else. That peace and solitude leads to thinking outside the box. So remember, my fellow night owls, anybody who goes to bed the same day they got up is a quitter.